flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting of March 14th, 2024. First on the agenda is Giordana Giovasi subdivision, 182 Bullet Hole Road, for a public hearing. Mike, did you have any comments?
The building department has no objection to the return of the bond. At this time, there are no zoning violations on the site.
And Rich?
Same, engineering department has reviewed it, we provided the memo last time, it's good to have the bond returned.
And I know
No
Pat had
comments
no
from Pat,
comments.
correct.
All right. Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this? Please come up and state, you gotta come up to the mic. No, I'm sorry, you gotta come up to state your name. It's not so much for us, it's for the people on the TV that can hear you.
My name is Christopher Viviano. I live across the street at 183 Bullet Hole Road. I came to find out
Speak into the microphone a little bit,
what
please.
exactly is going on with the subdivision or what's going on. That part
Okay.
I don't know 100%.
No, that's a fair question. That's why you have a public hearing. I'll ask the applicant to explain the project.
Well, we started the project 24 years ago.
Speak into the microphone, please.
Started the project 24 years ago. Obviously, the bond we pulled about 18 years ago, and it's all done the work. So that's why we're looking for a bond release.
So all the work has been completed?
Yes.
So anything that on this project is all done?
Yep.
You had a bond out there because of the project, and now you just wrapped
Right.
up. Rich went out to inspect it with one of his team, and now you just want your bond back.
Right.
All right, so there's no more subdividing
No,
or there's
no.
nothing else going
No,
on across the street?
We're not looking for a subdivision. No.
It was a two-lot
It was a
subdivision,
two-lot, though,
and
so
there's
you
no
know.
further.
Just our lot, you remember?
No, well, back in the day, it was proposed at
One.
7.
Please speak into the
That was
microphone.
before us.
Back in the day, it was proposed at 7 before you.
No, just us. That's just the
Okay.
two. That's it.
Fair question, good question.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
Mr. Chairman, being there's no other public comments, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we need a motion to recommend the bond return.
I'll make a motion to refer them to the town board for the bond return.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
You too. Good night. Next on the agenda is P&R Estate Corp., 122 Glenita Avenue, public hearing and resolution. Mike didn't have any comments. Rich?
No comments, and I have Pat's, if the board has in front of them, final site plan resolution to be voted on this evening. The only thing that I would add to that is that there should be the bond numbers included with it. They were provided to us earlier today, and they just need to be added to the resolution. So I would ask that the board if they're making a motion for this final site plan, to add those numbers in there as what needs to be signed and delivered.
Is that a bond for the storm maintenance?
Performance bond and engineering fee, yes.
And what's the amount on that?
Mr. Sherwood, you remember? You sent it to me earlier today.
I do not remember.
It was some $80,000, $85,000 approximately for the performance bond and $5,000 for the engineering inspection fees. I'm a little off on that, but I think it should be ultimately read into whatever the values are that were sent today.
Okay.
I apologize for not knowing those numbers directly. Robert Sherwood, landscape architect. Do you want me to present the plan in case there's people in the audience?
Let's
or-
see, there's people in the audience first.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard on this? This has been around for a while, that's why I didn't.
That's fine.
So I saved a little bit of time for yourself and for everyone else here. So we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, as there is no public comment, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt the site plan resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I'm proposed to adopt the resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 24-09, March 14, 2024, tax map number 44.13-2-68.
And I would just add to that, and the performance bond of approximately $85,000 and the $5,000 engineer fee as distributed by Rich Renzetti.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is TTSHR LLC, 25 and 27 Seminary Hill Road.
Good evening.
Mike?
Yeah, I inspected the property last week, maybe 2 weeks ago now. Property's generally in good condition. There's a need for repair some of the siding, power wash a few of the areas on the building. They're probably gonna do the whole thing, the owner said. Fire inspector, I spoke to him, he's been doing his inspections annually. There were a few rooms in, I think he said the larger building, that were lined up strangely, but legal, but just lined up strange. So once I see the plans and I meet with them, they may be realigning some of the rooms to make it work better, but everything is perfectly legal as it sits now.
And Rich?
No comments. I have Pat's note to the board. Seek a negative declaration resolution is presented to the board to be voted on this evening. Resolution is needed so that the applicant can go to the ZBA for this use variance.
Any questions from the board on this? Now, this is pre-existing, right? So we're actually bringing this up to conformance, correct, Mike?
Yes. Sorry, that was off, yes.
Any questions on this? One thing I would note is, I like the idea of this project in the sense that we bring it up to compliance. But I believe what Mike says is true, and I think we should hold your feet to the fire on it. I think there's an opportunity to fix up the curb appeal a little bit. I've been out there a couple times. Whether it's power washing or landscaping, what this board likes to do is anything that comes in front of it, when the project is done, it should look nicer, especially with the curb appeal and the siding, and it's our opportunity to enhance the community.
The buildings have been in existence since the 50s, so I think bringing it up to some levels may be difficult, but I understand what you're saying, and I'll convey that to my client.
My house is 110 years old, so 1950s.
You don't have 62 people living in it.
Mike could easily show you how to fix up that house.
I'm sure my client will listen.
Okay. Mike, we should really hold people's feet to the fire on projects like this.
That's fine. And again, I think that when I spoke to him, it seemed like he wants to, but he didn't want to do things that were not approved yet. So he's waiting until he gets an approval to go forward. But if we could get the engineer to maybe give us a little better landscaping, that's going to help. Show us a few arborvitae, a few trees that are going to dress up the front of the building, maybe a few other ideas that you might have to change the house around a little bit. But definitely cleaning the siding and fixing, somebody hit it with a plow, it looks like, on one spot. Doing a few things like that's going to make quite a difference in that house.
My client owns a commercial building right across the street, known as the Camarda Building. He's done sizable improvements to that building. I'd like you guys to take notice of that.
Great. Anthony, did you have something?
No, I'm saying, the next step would be to get the variances, and then it would come back to the board here anyway. So, I can understand, not wanting to commit yet to get the variances, but, based on what the chairman's saying, next time it comes back, let's have a little bit more detail and a little bit more definitive of what's going to be done and what can be done.
Understood.
We'd appreciate that.
That's a good point. So. point
Bill,
taken.
wasn't that the Hickman building?
The Hickman Building.
It was, right? That's the same one? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, resolution of the Planning Board of Town of Carmel, number 24-07, March 14, 2024, tax map 55.61-69 and 70, residential site plan, seeker determination of significance, negative declaration.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are we assigned formally to the zoning board at this point?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And then you'll be back.
Do you have a plan with you, Bill?
You got to sign a plan, it has to be denied to the zoning board.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I do not. Jack Carrell asked me at about 4 o'clock to cover this today.
okay, you can stop and see Rose, and I'll stop in next week to the office and sign it.
Thank you very much.
Rose will let me know once you've gone, and then I'll stop in and sign it.
I'll tell Mr.
All right,
Carrell.
Bill,
Thank
thanks.
you very much.
Sure. Good? Next on the agenda is Diamond Point Development for Baldwin Road for resolution. Mike?
I do not have any comments on this. They've all been addressed.
Okay. Rich?
Ditto, all comments have been addressed. I do have passed for the board. The final site plan resolution is to be voted on this evening.
Any comments from the board? I know this has been around for a while. I happen to think this is one of our projects we've done a stellar job on. Okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll offer the resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 24-08, March 14, 2024, tax map number 86.10-1-2 and 3, Diamond Point Development, final site plan approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Moving right along, huh? Next on the agenda, G&F subdivision 2054, Route 6. Dawn, you're not going to slow us down now, are you?
I sure hope not.
Mike?
All right, according to Chapter 131 subdivision of land, the planning board may waive the requirement subject to the appropriate conditions. Streets shall be graded and improved. It says basically you can take the sidewalks out if you don't find them necessary or if they're not going to make sense. In this case, the hill is pretty steep. You got to figure out what the trade-off is, good or bad. It's up to the board. It's not a zoning requirement. It is something that was approved with the plat, so it's up to you.
Thank you. Rich?
The applicant's requesting a site plan amendment to remove and eliminate the proposed concrete sidewalk north of the entrance of lots 2 and 3. The applicant really hasn't provided any information as to why this site plan request is being made. Additional information should be provided to the board for them to make a good decision. And I have Pat's. It's requesting the planning board eliminate a requirement to construct a sidewalk along a new roadway that accesses the Gateway Fairways developments. Site plan comments: as a matter of good planning practice, sidewalks should be provided along all roadways to accommodate pedestrian mobility in a safe manner. A sidewalk exists along the entire length on the north side of Route 6, traveling west from the site all the way to the Carmel hamlet. The eastern end of the sidewalk terminates at the site roadway, where it extends into the site for a distance of approximately 50 feet. It's logical to provide a pedestrian sidewalk connection from new residences proposed at Gateway to Fairways to the commercial areas to the west. The applicant has not provided a reason for eliminating the sidewalk, and while not explicitly stated in the application materials, it is believed that the developer, Toll Brothers, do not wish to maintain the sidewalk, which is due to grade of the roadway and may be more costly. That is from Pat.
Thank you, Rich. Board members? Before we do that,
Mike, have any, no
I'm
other
sorry.
comments, right? Did you have a memo on this?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Did you have a memo, Rich?
I read mine already.
Oh, you read it.
Mine was, there was no reason given to us. It was, we just want to remove the sidewalk. They need to provide something.
before I ask the board, Dawn, this project started out on I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can Dawn show us what parts they want to take out?
Well, I was
Just so
actually
we can be
asking for a little
clear.
bit more.
Sorry, I'm
I
not
think
trying to step
maybe
on your toes.
You and Joe were the only ones, I don't know if Ray was or Anthony was, what year did this project start?
6? No, it was approved in 6 the
Approved in
first time.
06, yeah.
Probably 99, 2000?
Yeah.
It took forever in the beginning.
So, yeah, it took a long time before it was approved. I think that the first subdivision approval or subdivision approval was probably around 2007. Might even been prior to that, but it started up several years before that.
Okay.
It went through a lengthy process.
So, can you give us an overview, at a high level, 10-minute overview? I mean, I remember it talks about a YMCA there or a hotel, and so I wasn't on the board.
Dawn, can you clarify to the board the owners of the first 2 lots as you come up the driveway? Because there's maybe a misconception that Toll has something to do with this. Toll purchased the residential development units at the top of the driveway, but I believe the developer continues to own the lots at the bottom of the driveway, which are the ones that would be more affected by eliminating the sidewalk, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you just
Right,
explain that
so-
to the board, because there's a misconception here that Toll doesn't want to complete or maintain, but Toll's lots are not the ones that are abutting the road.
That's correct. So let me run through this for you. The original subdivision was 7 lots. This one over here was Lot 1. That's where the hotel was going to go. The applicant no longer owns that parcel that was sold a long time ago. He owns this one here, which is Lot 2, so this is Route 6, right? You're familiar with where we are. You guys have probably been up the road by now. And this is highlighted in orange is the road right-of-way for the town road. So this parcel right here is Lot 2, and behind that is Lot 3. There's actually a piece of Lot 6 that wraps around the back of that and has a connection, so there's stormwater management down here, and there's a connection to the trailway.
So
Here,
who-
that wraps
who-
around, right?
Who owns that
And-
second lot?
So Lot 2, Lot 3, and Lot 4, actually, this little piece right in here, this has access way to the county landfill that runs through it as well. And these 3 parcels, 2, 3, and 4, are all owned by the applicant.
They are.
In addition to that, on the other side of the road, here's Lot 5. That's also owned by the applicant. And then when you get further up the hill, and I didn't bring the whole subdivision map, I just brought the site plans for the road. But Lot 6, yeah, maybe I can get these next to each other, and you can see the 2 together. Well, probably not. So this is Lot 6 in this area here, right, that wraps around the cul-de-sac, and that's the property that Toll purchased, right there. And then starting here off of the cul-de-sac or the turnaround, Lot 7 comes along here and it extends in that direction along with a piece of Lot 6.
And who owns Lot 7?
Lot 7 is still owned by the applicant.
So Toll just owns Lot 6.
That's correct.
And who will be accessing the roadway? Just the Toll Brothers Development residents or others?
So the road is utilized to access, so here's the entrance to this commercial property here for lots 2 and 3, right? That's the first entrance, and the sidewalk is going to connect to that point in that entrance. And then Lot 4 is also accessed from this property. Lot 5 is accessed from the road, from the road. They're all accessed from the road, and then Lot 6 and Lot 7 at the top. And that's consistent with how it's been since it was originally approved.
And one other question, just on the background. What are the development plans for the non-Toll Brother lots, other than that one as you come into the left?
So
So
I can
think
tell you what they were originally approved as, conceptually, but what the current development plans are, that's not for me to say.
But they will get access
From
to that.
From the town road. Correct.
Okay.
And
Right.
this
So
is,
the point being that, once you get past that initial entrance, when you get up that town road closer to those other lots, they will be, depending upon their development plans, they will be contributing to the traffic on that road.
Yes.
Okay.
There was some talk about retail.
I get it.
You
I
know,
get it.
we got to see who comes, I guess.
Yeah, so, right, so this, this was originally, I believe, when it was approved back in 2008, this was, I believe, a restaurant and a pharmacy, some sort of commercial business. The Lot 1 is not accessed from this, it actually has its own entrance off of Route 6, so that's not entered from this. So this could also be some sort of commercial property. This, I think, was originally contemplated, I saw a site plan for a YMCA or potentially some other type of commercial use. And I don't remember what Lot 5 was, actually. Oh, no, that is Lot 5. And then 6 and 7 were always 150 units of residential housing each.
and this is the most recent map that was approved with the extension and everything else?
Correct. This is the most recently approved subdivision road for the lot line, the lot line amendments that you guys approved probably last year for,
So Toll would only be
Yeah.
responsible for about 75 feet of sidewalk on the cul-de-sac? Or X
That's
amount,
correct.
whatever that
That's-
number is?
right, that's it. So, yeah, I'm doing good. So that little green bit there,
Yep.
that's all that'll be left in front of Lot 6.
And
That
that
toll
is-
would be responsible for maintenance for. Now, the rest of it, the other lots would be responsible for, and I can give you lengths for those if you need it.
So the hotel that doesn't even access off of this road would be responsible for 380 feet of sidewalk that they don't even use?
It's not on their side of the road. The hotel's on the opposite side of the road. So it's really the responsibility of
Where's the hotel?
over here.
Bottom right.
Yeah, so they're responsible for the frontage that they're not even going to use.
But the sidewalk
You have to meet, I got it,
on
sorry.
the opposite side of the
Opposite side
road.
of
It's
the
on
street,
the opposite
sorry.
side of the road.
The other
Disregard.
sidewalk's already in place, right?
So the sidewalk is installed up to this point right now.
Now, the road coming in,
This is the road coming in.
are there sidewalks on both sides?
No, there's only sidewalk on one side of the
On
road.
one side.
It's this side right here, right,
And who's going to
the
maintain that
westerly
road?
side. So, well, the road itself is a town road,
It's town, okay.
but sidewalk would be the responsibility of whoever fronts on the property, right?
That's what my point was.
Right,
But I
that-
thought it
right.
was on both sides.
So
and
the
I
applicant has the large majority, all but 75 feet?
Generally.
Because the road's on the left going up, so until the applicant develops those other properties, it's on the applicant.
Correct. Once those are developed, if they're, sold to someone
Yeah.
else, then whoever purchases that property would be responsible. This property, the entrance is already installed, it's in this location here. They'd be responsible for this whole section of frontage. This piece here, they would get this frontage for that small lot. And like I said, I have lengths for those if you want to hear them. And then Lot 6, theirs would start back here. The actual development doesn't start till further down the road, and the entrance to Lot 6 is actually over here, past the cul-de-sac. So, but they'd be
Mr. Chairman.
responsible for all of this as well.
The board may want to understand that when the sidewalk was approved, it was not an issue that was solicited by the board. It was proposed by the applicant at the time, because it's not, as Mike set forth previously, it's not part of the bulk zoning requirements, and it was something that the applicant had proposed. It was not something that this board had insisted upon.
Good point, good point.
Also, the road's constructed, they started on Lot 6, and so the electric company's coming, they're gonna run utilities up this side of the road, and this is what's really brought this to the forefront. It's a combination of things. It's the difficulty of getting the utilities in with the thin area left that would be between the sidewalk and the guide rail, that's going on that side, as well as the maintenance responsibilities of
Could you
those
give
individual lots.
Could you
So-
give a little background on who's going to be in the Toll Brothers development? How many people, how many units, what the population is, and maybe the type of traffic it'll produce?
That's approved for 300 residential units, garden and condo style. I mean, Mike, you could address that, but there are 300 approved units at the top of that hill.
Yep.
Right.
150 go to
150.
Gateway, 150 go to Fairways.
Correct.
Right
Right.
now, they're putting in 150 owned by Toll Brothers on Lot 6. Other 150 would go on Lot 7, which are not owned by anybody yet. That hasn't been sold, right? That's what you were indicating doing that we know of.
And there's
Right.
no age restriction on,
So, some of the units on Lot 6, which is Gateway, are age-restricted units. Right.
percentage-wise, how many?
Excuse me?
Percentage-wise, how many? Roughly, roughly, small, teensy bit, large chunk?
I think it's a small.
Anything
I
that
think-
was in the residential zone became non-age restricted.
Right.
So anything that's in the Commerce Business Park zone, I don't have the percents. I
Yeah, and
apologize.
actually, I think there's a higher percentage of, yeah, I think it's the other way around.
The other way
We can get
around?
the numbers.
But we can get the numbers, right.
Didn't we do a lot line adjustment between 6 and 7? And I think part of that reason was because of the age restricted, if I'm remembering correctly.
They extended the road to, remember that road was extended, the cul-de-sac was pushed further east or north?
Okay.
And that was done to get the, I think you're right, I think it was to get a bigger percent on
Yeah,
the
that was still
residential
way
lots so that they could do more, less age restricted.
Most likely,
I
yes.
remember something. You're correct.
But there was an adjustment to where the cul-de-sac was and the road length was changed, right? And the lot lines were changed, so, right.
What's the gradient of the roadway?
It maxes out at 10%, but the majority of it is 10%,
It's very steep.
yes.
Is there a maximum allowed sidewalk slope in New York State?
So,
I know there's an ADA, I'm asking.
Going
Yeah.
downhill in the
Well, what-
wintertime on that?
so what the ADA says, if you are required to provide an accessible route and you're putting it in along an existing road, it is allowed to match the grade of the existing road. Doesn't mean it's reasonably traversable by someone who is, has mobility issues, but that's what it provides, so.
So, the million-dollar question is, what is the reason the applicant wants to eliminate the sidewalk? I mean, I
So,
heard a couple of things, but very clearly,
yeah, so there's two main reasons. One is the challenge of installing the utilities in the spaces left within the right-of-way between the guide rail and the sidewalk, if the sidewalk were installed. And then once you do that, where does the landscaping go? Because you can't, there's a, if you look at.
It is pretty tight there.
It is pretty tight, so if you look at the space that's left between the green, which represents the sidewalk in this area, and that's typical along this side of the right-of-way, and, where the right-of-way line is, which is the orange, there's not a lot of space there, and that's where the electric has to go, and the guide rail, where the guide rail's shown. Actually, in this area, there's not guide rail, but further down the hill, there's guide rail.
how are the utilities coming into the development? Are they all coming in on the left side?
They're all coming in to the left side. So the water's on this side of the road, and the sewer runs up the center, and then the electric's gonna go on this side over here.
And you're saying there's not enough room to run the electric and the sidewalk on that side?
So, my understanding is between discussions with the contractor and discussions with the utility provider, they're putting electric through there. They're also going to run telecommunications, that kind of thing. And it's all gonna go up in that shoulder. So here you get a better idea. It's not highlighted, but there's the guide rail. And there's guide rail that runs on a good part of this side of the road. And really, that's the tight spot. You're not left with a lot of space. And that space, there was a sidewalk in there, which we took out for this site plan. So,
Dawn, is the guide rail in yet?
the guide rail's not installed yet.
So,
I see a lot of room.
right, so,
Forgive
I
me,
mean,
you
and
know.
can you extend right-of-ways? Can they be
Well-
made
well,
wide?
then-
Extend the guide
well,
rail
then we
further
have-
in And run the utility.
Then we have landscaping outside of that. So that's one of the issues, and the other issue is who's responsible for maintenance and, of that section of sidewalk. So, those are, my understanding, are the two main issues.
So I visited there today, drove up and down a couple times. My observation is it's, from a walking person's point of view or somebody who's on a bicycle, it's very steep. For somebody, for normal, that's why I asked about the age restriction. For people, the normal population, I would say, would not be going up and down that road. But, if you're a fitness person, you would look at that walk or run or bike ride as a challenge, and you might be doing it. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm driving there, so if I'm not on the sidewalk, where am I? I'm in the road, which is why I asked about the traffic. If we think, to me, if we think that it's going to be relatively sporadic traffic, and somebody can easily hop onto the shoulder if they see a car coming or whatever, I mean, I get the point. I'm sympathetic.
So to that point, though, if, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but if you have the roadway, and then I would assume grassy area, then the guardrail, you would leave enough room, to Bob's point, if someone's walking there, a car comes down, people can step off the road onto this path or something.
Except that the car will be coming behind them, because they'll be walking, they see it going up the hill, not going down the hill.
Correct.
Walk against traffic,
Right.
ride with traffic.
Yes.
See,
So you see the road.
I feel like there's a lot of potential for more development up here, which means more traffic going up and down the road. And also on top of that, you have access to the bike path over there near it. Look at a day like today. There were a lot of people outside walking on the bike path. I still think, especially if it's not age restricted, you're going to have a lot of people walking up and down over there. And especially if there's going to be more traffic, that might be an issue.
It is pretty steep.
Dawn, is there, are there gonna be any walking trails as part of this? I don't know how many acres is this entire, do you know off the top of your head? It's a large parcel, right? But
It's a very large parcel. So Fairways has quite a bit of walking trails associated with it. You know, I don't have the full site
the
plan for
fairways is
that.
on the right, and the gateways is on the left?
So,
Fairways goes out to the golf course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Yep.
fairways is to
Yes.
the right, gateway to the
Yep.
left.
right, Fairways runs from the golf course down to Crystal Lake at
Yeah,
the bottom.
I'm just
right,
thinking to
yeah.
the next point, are there, if people choose to get out on this beautiful day, is there walking paths or something provided for them up there?
Yes, so there are walking paths, you know, there's quite a few walking paths. It's actually a significant trail system proposed for Fairways. It takes you down, you know, they have a really long road, there's sidewalks provided on Fairways, there's sidewalks provided in areas on Gateway. So let's talk about Fairways. So Fairways has sidewalks provided, I believe it's along one side of the road, I don't have the site plan
So,
here tonight.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
And then they have a trail system. So the trail system actually connects to the cul-de-sac. If you're familiar with the site plan for Fairways, it runs all the way out to the end of the property, and it's quite a distance. I don't know the length of the road off the top of my head, but it's a pretty long way. And then at the cul-de-sac, there's a little bit of parking there if somebody wants to park, or somebody could walk down there. That's where the trail system starts. There's actually a gravel maintenance road for emergency vehicles that takes you down through the woods, down towards the lake. And then that trail system connects all along down there, along the lake, and then it comes back up again, and it ends up by the clubhouse, which is actually towards the beginning of the Fairways development, which across the street from Gateway.
Can residents of either development use that trailway?
I think in the end, it's probably going to end up that way. I don't know. Each development, Gateway and Fairway, had to provide a certain amount of recreation associated with on their own property, right? That's a requirement of the code. So they each have quite a bit of recreation associated with that. I think the intention is eventually Toll will probably buy Lot 7, right, as well, and develop that and combine all of the recreation, and then everything will be available to everybody. But that's
So we don't know if it's going to happen yet?
so.
Meaning, we don't know if there's going to be cross agreements if the people in the
So
fairways
I'll have
want to
to-
use the
So
pool
I'll
and
have to
the
confirm
gateway.
if there's cross agreements, but if you look at the way the recreation is shown for Gateway and for Fairway, it looks like they've got shared facilities, so,
But they both stand on their own as well.
but they both stand on their own as well, right,
I believe the intention was that they would share.
right, and that's what I believe the intention was as well, but,
So maybe at a future meeting, you can bring some detail on the trailways? I mean, I think it's
Absolutely.
important for us to know if you have 5 miles of trails that you could walk up there and connect with the bike path, or if we're not gonna, if the sidewalk doesn't go through, we need an alternative. And I'd like to know more about, just follow up on Nick's question, I'd like to know more about those trailways up there.
Right,
And
but
then-
that alternative, Mr. Chairman, was already part of the approved subdivision and site plan. So it's not added, it's already approved, it has to go in there.
Okay.
yeah, the trail system does, it's already approved.
It's on
Yeah,
the-
I
it's on the
forget, you know,
plan.
we've been going to the ECB to get, you know, renewals of our wetland permit. I forget, we haven't been back to you guys with the trail plan. So, yeah, we currently still have a wetland permit for that entire trail system. And we have a current wetland permit from DEC because those trails go through the DEC wetland buffer, so.
And you
And
mentioned.
that's part of Fairways.
And Dawn, you mentioned sidewalks up there?
There are sidewalks on Gateway and Fairway.
So for the 300 units, for people to go from one unit to the other, for people to walk down the street,
So
there are sidewalks.
not throughout the full development, there isn't.
Okay.
but there are sidewalks in certain areas connecting to the recreation area, you know, where the clubhouse will be and the swimming pool, those types of facilities. That's where the main sidewalk connections are, to get you close to that.
And they have centralized mailboxes?
Yes, my understanding is they'll have centralized mailboxes.
Because that's always a problem when you have a sidewalk and a mailbox has to be 3 feet from the curb that mailman can't reach, and then it's a big issue.
Yeah.
I know I'm asking for a lot, but I'd like to know more about the sidewalks up by the residences, and do you have, are there any renderings from Toll Brothers yet for this board to see? I've been in a few side meetings with Toll Brothers and the team, but are there any renderings yet from Toll Brothers of the units?
Yeah,
Nothing
I was
yet?
gonna say, not that I've seen.
I'm supposed to get their plans tomorrow for 2 of the building types. They're not ready for building permit, but I asked to get them early so I could look at them and start.
Great.
So otherwise, I'm going to get 10 building permits and have to review them all at once, so.
Okay. I mean, this board would like to see them when they're ready also, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And both of those developments were intended to be walkable to a certain degree, you know, so.
The, on the map, there's a section that I see, it's greenish. No,
No.
the map that's up, yeah.
This
Right,
is,
yeah.
that's the portion of the, the portion of the sidewalk to remain.
Oh, okay.
Here, as well as down there, that's the portion, everything in between those two that runs in front of Lot 2, Lot 4, and, you know, the wilder portions of Lot 6.
So just to
what
clarify,
intended to
green will
be-
be a sidewalk?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, there'll still be one at the bus stop, so there's intended to be a bus stop down here, there's a bus shelter, and that connects to the sidewalk that comes up the hill into Lot 6.
Okay.
And, yeah,
You also said that there was a sidewalk that was removed originally. How far up did that go?
there was a sidewalk that was removed originally.
Before, when you were pointing at the curb, didn't you mention that there was a sidewalk further up that had been removed?
So, the approved,
No.
the approved subdivision road plans showed sidewalk through this section here, and that's why we're here tonight, to get permission to eliminate that portion of the sidewalk.
Gotcha.
You get your answer as to why?
Well, we're talking about, yes, I mean, the answer was that space restraints with guardrail, landscaping, and utilities. With all due respect, I see that, and I see if you push the guardrails further back, you can make the room. On the flip side, I mean, we do have a lot of roads in town that don't have sidewalks. This happens to be a 10% grade, so it's not gonna be something that most people are gonna wanna walk on. However, I mean, aesthetically, I think the sidewalk would be a good idea. Maintenance of the sidewalk should be by whoever ends up being the tenants or landowners of each of the lots. But I mean, we can continue discussing this. I'm just,
You know, and one thing I forgot to mention, the applicant had really wanted to be here to talk this through with you, and he had something personal he had to do, and he couldn't make it. But, you know, he would gladly come and speak with you at the next meeting if we're not ready to make a decision
Yeah,
tonight.
I had
So-
exchanged some email with Paul, and he mentioned that he wasn't able to make it for a
Right.
good reason. And he would be here at the next meeting, which I think is valuable to the team here. Any other to-dos or ideas for Dawn and/or the applicant to bring back at the next meeting, so that everyone's prepared? I think it's a good discussion. John, you have any questions? or-
no, I don't.
Anything else? Mike, Rich, Joe, anything?
I think I understand better now. Now we do.
That was a good discussion.
We'll further it. I mean, we're not making any
Yeah.
decisions here at this point. But,
All right, so what you're looking for is you want better understanding of what the trail systems are on,
Well, I
And
thought
just
Nick
to
had a
make sure
fair
I-
point about, on a beautiful day like today, people will be walking. So I know the trail system was already part of it, but I'd like to see what the alternative to walking up and down that hill is. If there's trail systems that are, you know, I'd like to know more about it, because they don't have to go down the hill. There's an alternative to walking 5 miles or getting down to the bike path and back or whatnot.
so, my recollection is there is not a trail that connects to the bike path from Lot 6 or Lot 7.
That'd be the same problem with the steep decline.
Yeah, so the road is 10%. Other areas of the site are much steeper than that.
Yeah.
What the trail system for Fairways does is Fairways is a really long parcel. And the road goes out to a cul-de-sac. It's a long, it's sinuous a little bit, but it's really a long road to a dead end. And what the trail system does is it takes you from that cul-de-sac all the way down the hill, through the woods, along the lake, where the facilities are down there. I think there's a little dock proposed, and there's a little place, a shelter for kayaks or canoes or something. And it runs actually parallel generally to the lake and along back towards Gateway, along that lower side down in the woods, and then it comes back up in the middle, or it comes back up, connects back to the subdivision road by the recreation area. It's a pretty long trail. I don't know how long it is, but I can certainly give you an idea of that.
Sure.
But it gives you a pretty good loop. Okay. And even that's is probably a bit of a hike, but it's a nice trail. It's beautiful down there.
In addition to mapping
Required by the prior planning board approval.
Right, that's already.
Again, required by,
Yeah,
that it
but
has to
we're-
go there no matter what.
Absolutely.
We know that, but we're
sidewalk
weighing
is.
the existence of that against the sidewalk. I understand. I'm not asking for more. I
Right.
just want to see what it is.
Right, I get,
Yeah.
but it's supposed to be there no matter what. You
I
gotta
know, but I
just
don't know
keep
what
that in
it
mind.
is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, well, they need to present. So
Dawn, you know how
Dawn
vigilant
was
we are, right?
asking-
Yeah.
What's that?
You know how visual
wanna
the
see
planning
what it
boards
is.
are, right?
Absolutely.
That's all.
Yeah, I know.
I think we're more
wondered if I
comfortable,
should
but
bring
if it
the
was
site
visual, we
plans
could say
for
there's
those
400
two.
feet here,
Yeah.
there's 1,000 feet there.
And-
I think we're more comfortable, it's just if we see it,
Yep.
if that makes sense.
Okay,
And then
yeah,
in-
it would be
and-
helpful to bring the
And-
site plan.
And then,
so.
in addition to that, clarify that residents of both sides, both developments can use it.
Okay.
And you might not know that till whoever buys lots 7, correct, 6 or 7. Right, Toll Brothers bought one of the lots. Other questions? Anthony, you need more information on the left side of that road with the sidewalks going with the,
Do you have any details on that already drawn up? On a utility plan or a plan showing how your excavation is going to be, where the guardrails are going to be?
I don't have that information. The utility company might. I don't know.
But as far as like a
I'm sure
site
they
plan-
laid it out. They probably typically do.
But you don't have a site plan showing any kind of detail of the road, the underground utilities, the plantings, the guardrail?
So I have everything except for the new utilities from, for the
That-
electric
that
and, but
would
we
help.
may have something. I'll check on that. If we can provide, just, you want to see how it's going to lay out?
Yes.
Between the curb and the guide rail or the right-of-way?
Yep.
Okay.
what I would ask, if any board member has not gone up there yet, it's definitely worth the drive. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful piece of property, and where the homes are gonna be up top, you can see for miles and miles. It's quite a piece of property. Dawn, I think we're good for tonight if you are.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm good.
We'll see you
Okay.
in 2 weeks.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good discussion. Next on the agenda is Viola Water, Mahopac Wells for a site plan. It's been a while. Wow. Mike, I believe you had some comments?
Yeah, it's the same comment. If we're going to discuss this one, we should really think about the buffers and screening, but it's all in the agreements with the HOA, so I guess they're okay with it.
Thank you. Rich?
So applicant has noted referrals and permits that are required. They provided a SWIP, which is currently under review. They provided easement and Hunter's Run information. I only have one detailed comment that they need to do with the stormwater maintenance agreement and performance bond, and they need to provide us those numbers if the board's ready to move forward. They provided information with the sewer system and how to connect into. They said it was on the drawings. I could not locate the connection detail. I had provided them that information a while back. They just need to put it in. It's nothing major. And the drawings that are part of the sewer plan need to be signed and sealed by a, professional engineer. And I have Pat's. There are no changes to the proposed access road. Wetland encroachment by the new building, stormwater maintenance facilities, and gravel driveway have been approved by DEC, Army Corps, and ECB. Oh, ECB approval is now also required, sorry. The initial plan called for a removal of 14, current plan, 14 trees, current plan calls for removal of 29. A new landscaping plan has been proposed to mitigate the loss of those trees. The height of the building has been reduced. This is due to modification of the grading plan. The height of the building itself remains unchanged. The location of the emergency generator is now indicated on the site plan. Previously reviewed lighting plan has been revised to incorporate motion detectors. They should be calibrated to avoid cycling on and off due to small animals passing through. They submitted the summary of terms of agreement with the HOA of Hunter's Run. The applicant has clarified that the terms of the agreement are not enforceable by the town. Most of the terms of the agreement are specifically reflected on the revised site plan where they would be enforceable by the town. That is all for Pat's.
Thanks, Rich. Comments from the board?
I just have I guess, a question about, so part of the documents that was submitted was a letter which appears to be from the homeowners association, and it's basically an endorsement of the plans saying that they worked with you collaboratively to arrive at it. But oddly, I mean, at least the letter I have, it says president. It's not signed, it doesn't have his name.
It's not. That was an
Please
agreement.
introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Adam Wexstein, a partner in the law firm of Hockerman, Tortorella, and Wexstein. I'm here with Ramya Ramanathan, our planner. That is an agreement from when we came up with the conceptual plan with them. What happened after that is they actually signed a version of that letter and put it in escrow. We are in agreement, but earlier this week, their attorney called and said, we're ready to sign, we'll release the signed letter if you want, but it really doesn't make sense to have a letter that says, so long as a new plan is consistent with what we approved and we've been collaborating, she said, can you simplify it? So I simplified it in accordance with the request just to say we support the plans identified by the ones that are in front of you. That was sent to her. She asked on Tuesday. It was emailed to her yesterday morning, and I expect to have a full signed letter that refers specifically to these plans by the end of the week. The HOA has also signed 2 easements in favor of NICEAG. Number 1 for the electrical lines coming up to the new facility, and number 2 for the pad on which a transformer that's associated with the new facility will sit. They've sent us the email. We have to get the original, although we've signed it. It ultimately has to go to NICEAG, which originally, that took a while because NICEAG originally drew it up to be with Veolia, but Veolia doesn't own the property. So the HOA has to be involved.
Right. So to clarify then, this is a letter that you guys drew up for them to sign. They didn't sign it. There's another version of it that may be signed. Am I understanding you correctly?
Well, I have a copy of that letter signed, but that letter signed is a year old and doesn't refer to these specific plans. We thought it would be better. I could email you the signed version of that tomorrow, but I'd rather wait a few days, within the next few days, get you one that specifically says, we approve of the plan that you're considering right now. Just as much.
I think we would feel more comfortable if we knew that the homeowners association was in agreement with everything.
Agreed.
You know, then we have a certain level of comfort. We could say, okay, well, they've reviewed it, they worked with you, everybody agrees that it's what it is. So in the absence of that, I feel not as comfortable approving it. So if you can get us that, that'd be.
So just to piggyback on that, Rose had forwarded to me an agreement between Suez and the Homeowners Association that was dated May 4th, 2023. What's the date of that letter?
It doesn't even, it just says 2023.
Okay, so I think what the board is saying, we've got an old agreement, we've got an undated letter, we have an active HOA. Having an agreement in place, even in writing with the HOA is good. Obviously, it doesn't deny them their ability to speak at a public hearing down the road in opposition to this, but I think the board, in terms of a comfort level, would like either that agreement or a letter agreement presented to it at some point.
Understood, and I think we will have that to you very shortly. Just so you understand, the unsigned agreement was not meant as a way to slip something by the board. At the point we did it, it's an exhibit to our agreement with the HOA, so that they would put something away, and once we gave them a plan that was acceptable, they would give us a signed letter, which I do have, but it doesn't say we approve the plans that are in front of the board. It says that the plans before the board are substantially similar, and we believe they are, we approve them. It's much more linear to do it the other way, and we will get it to you. I mean, I would hope at this point that you do have enough to refer to the ECB so they can take a look at the work we're doing around the facility with respect to the tree removal, some of which is occurring in the buffer. The ECB has seen it before, but not this modified version.
So for the last 6 months or years, you've been working with the HOA. Can you tell us, as a result of working with the HOA, what changes / improvements, let's hope they're improvements you've made as a result of such?
Sure.
Ramya will tell you, just to clarify, we were working with the HOA for part of that, and once we got the go-ahead, it took a while to do all the design work and spend the money, and it's probably been quite a number of months since the HOA said we're okay. In fact, it was last May.
Great. Hi, Ramya.
So for the agreement, there are, to sum it up, 7 changes that have occurred on the site plan since you last saw us here. I can walk you through that.
Sure.
So the first change is the proposed GAC treatment building was originally 62 feet further up north. So the HOA wanted the building to move further south. So the building is the same as we initially proposed. So as we had already ordered the building, it's going to just come to the site. There's no change to the building that's coming in. It's the same height, same dimensions, but it's just moving 62 feet further south. As a result of which, the grade 62 feet further south is 4 feet lower. So the building is just going to sit, it's going to look like it's 4 feet lower than its original intended location.
Good.
Yes.
Nice.
And as a result of that change, the HOA wanted us to accommodate some more landscaping to shield the building even more from the viewpoint of the neighbors.
That's to Mike's point. We spent a lot of time early on in this project on, I think the largest issue we had was aesthetics. How do we hide this and that from the neighbors?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, so so the grade helps, moving it further south helps. And also we've extended, I'd like to show you, I mean, I do have renderings, and I'd like to take you to the landscape plan. Just 1 second.
I think it's probably best there for us to all see it.
Just use the microphone.
So at the new location of the building now, we have extended a bunch of evergreens till its new location. We were initially stopping the landscaping where the building was 62 feet up, but now we're moving it further south. We do have 2 rows of trees right near the HOA's property, but over here, because we don't want to encroach into the wetland buffers and the wetlands further, we just have 1 row of landscaping. But we did submit a photo package as a request for a waiver from the buffer landscaping requirement per the code that shows you that the site is, I think, 300 feet away from the Nottingham Way residence, which is to the east, and about 280 feet, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it's 280 to the house closest house on Nottingham.
Nottingham.
It's 192 to the closest property line on Coventry.
Coventry.
What's the elevation difference
Between Nottingham and?
between your building and the houses? Are they way above you looking down at you, or?
So the houses on Coventry are about, I'd say, 596, and the current building is at 583, so 13 feet. Yeah. No, so, but I'm hoping that the landscaping and all of the other improvements we've done would help with the screening. So, and the aerial images we've shown you do show there's dense vegetation around the buildings, and we do have renderings which basically show you how the landscaping is going to look once it's at 8 feet installation and 20 feet when they grow out.
So while you're talking about the landscape, and Pat's comment mentioned that the original plan called for removal of 14 trees. This plan calls for 29 trees removed.
Yes, so unfortunately, when we initially came to the board, we had a different site plan, and we were not anticipating the long discussion with the HOA that it eventually turned out to be. Because of the relocation of the building, we've had to propose the cutting of more trees, but we are proposing more landscaping, but I understand that that is something that's not ideal, we're coming back for more tree cuts.
Okay.
And then after that, the other changes to the site plan would be, already spoken about that. We do have a note about the treatment trailer, which is a temporary treatment trailer that sits on the site right now. Once the GAC building is completely installed and fully functional, that treatment trailer would be removed within 20 days.
The generator.
Yes.
That's on site. Where would that be compared to the house, the shed?
So the proposed generator location is right over here.
And that's shielded as well with landscaping?
Yes, I mean the landscaping is going right till there, and further north we have 2 rows of landscaping, so it should be shielded much better. Yeah,
Okay.
so that should help.
Thank you.
And
The generator is portable, so is it not always going to be there? It moves from, or is this going to be pretty much a storage place?
that is my understanding. Steve was here. I'd have Maria from Sewer.
Yeah, last time they said it was portable, and they would bring it where it's needed, but it will be left here most of the
That's
time,
what
is what he said last time.
This whole base is here?
Yeah, that's
My
what he
name
said
is
last
Maria Stepanova. I'm Veolia employee and representing Veolia. The generator is portable, but it is there because in the event of emergency, if there is storm, the roadway to that location is long, the trees will fall, you will, like if you were to bring it back and forth, you wouldn't, and you really want the generator to kick in if the electricity goes out. So it's there. It's not permanent, but it's there for those cases.
Okay.
The next change was the HOA wanted us to specify what kind of material or grass or landscaping we're proposing below the treatment trailer once it's removed, and so we're stating that we're going to be proposing grass under that patch over there. And we have just another note that, so basically the HOA is proposing us to change the building color to a taupe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But we have like a hemlock green, which we showed to the board 2 years back when we were here. So we've added a note that if the HOA feels like that has to change, obviously we'll have to come back to you to get that approval. But we have requested them to, let us install the building, have a look with the landscaping. It's green, it should blend in with the surroundings. It's approved by you, so hopefully it works. If it doesn't, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Everyone has an opinion on colors.
And the last one would be they wanted motion sensor lights on the building, which we've agreed to, and we understand Pat's comment that it should not, turn on when a little rat or a rabbit is going around. So we make that sure that it's into the specs. Yeah.
Could I just ask the
Sure.
consultants? Mike and Rich, is this the site that there was the issue with the ingress and egress where they were going over somebody's property?
No,
Oh.
no, that's the Archer Wells. That's coming up next.
I'm sorry.
That's a whole different story.
From that should be applied here.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. That's to basically, those are the 7 changes we've made to the plans per the agreement.
I think the biggest concern, I appreciate the upgrades, is, sheltering, landscaping and screening from, the 2 residents, which is, what is it, Coventry Circle and Nottingham Way. So I think we really have to, stay focused on that. Did you do your selection of plantings for that area?
Yes, we've chosen evergreens so as to blend it in. I'd also like to get your attention to the photo package we provided. I'm not sure if it's a part of your set, but that would really help alleviate some of the concerns here.
Are they native trees, or are they going to need water?
I'm sorry?
Are they native trees, or will they need water?
sorry for my lack of knowledge on that, but we are proposing green giants and,
They're not native, you'll need to water them.
okay. So green giants and Norway spruces and cedars, red cedars. So,
No, but if they're native, then they are used to our water. They're in the wetland, Rich just pointed out, so they shouldn't have a problem with that.
so I'd just like to point your attention to the aerial imagery. I can
So just,
send
let's
it
just,
around.
let's not leave that point. To Mike's point, you might want to talk to Mike or someone else about, I don't think you want to be watering the plant, the shrubs, the new landscape. There might be some landscaping you don't need.
Rich just
More
pointed
native.
out that they're in the wetland area, so that should help,
Oh,
which is that's a plus for them.
yeah, okay.
So again, they can revisit that and try to get native species, as Mike was talking about. They're offering evergreens that are gonna get there. Those evergreens will provide the buffering faster. You know, they will need to be watered. Anytime you take a tree out of a burlap sack, you're gonna need to water it. It
Yeah.
needs to be maintained no matter what the ground situations are, right? It becomes a site plan issue. If they die and the homeowner association says, hey, these trees are dying, they gotta plant new trees, Veolia does. So, again, that doesn't solve the issue. It doesn't make it happen, right? They would have to, they plant a 4-foot tree versus an 8-foot tree that grew and died, right? So again, you know, maybe there's something they can put in native species, look at those tree lists again. That would be something, mix and match it. Arborvitaes are like feeding deer a free salad bar sometimes, depends on where you're at. So once they get to a certain height, they're very good on top, but you can see through the bottom of them. So again, you know, there are things you can do. You just maybe need to just double check them to address the board's concerns with regards to the covering or the masking or the, you know, blockage or the screening of the facility.
Okay.
I mean, there's spruces that will fill in, go tall, and stay low on the ground, that do well in this area. So
Okay.
you may want to consider that.
You obviously are the ultimate arbiter of what goes in there, but there is a complete plan there, and it took the better part of a year to get the HOA to agree to it. So I'd be hesitant. We would go back to them if you tell us there's something you really
So, I mean,
want,
if this is
obviously.
what's going to be addressed, if they're okay with this landscaping.
Yeah.
Yes, the answer is yes.
They like it because it's giants and they grow tall. The giants, they tend to grow quicker. If you buy like 4 or 6 foot ones, they grow more inches per year than most trees, so.
We do have spruces in, it's just mixed with some more green giants and cedars.
I think common sense will also tell us, once the landscaping plan's installed, you need to sit back, and if some homeowners there say, oh my God, we didn't think of this or that.
Yeah.
We need to be sensitive to that. You need to have a little flexibility in your landscaping plan. If you missed 2 or 3 shrubs or trees, that should go somewhere to block something.
Understood, I mean. Thank you.
Yeah, because option 2 would be for them to overtree it, and we don't want to do that where it costs you money. It's,
Yeah.
be flexible with us and we'll work with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, sure, we understand.
Any other comments? So this will come back to us after the ECB, correct? So we'll make a motion to refer to ECB?
May I ask you, so as we mentioned, there is a tree cutting request because the building was moved per HOA. I understand the tree cutting season is the end of March, so I know it's up to ECB to issue waivers or whatever documents that would allow us to do it this March, possibly. So if it's, you know, in any of your power to kind of highlight that question to them, that would be very helpful.
Well, we're going to refer you to the ECB. You can
Correct.
bring that up to them.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand that,
Yeah, yeah.
like, you cannot decide it, it's just whether we can put it in notes that, please, this is the matter
think
of
they'll be
urgency for this year, so we can have it completed.
They'll be understanding, right?
Thank you.
They are, but did you get there yet?
No, we
No,
need
no,
to
we
refer
need
to
the
them.
referral.
We need referral, we need, like, the March
You need a
is-
referral for the site plan. You don't need a referral to go for a tree cutting permit.
What about the extra 14 trees, 15 trees that we need to take down? We would need there. Because initially we were proposing 14 trees.
Just make application to the ECB.
But no need to.
No need to get referred from here for a tree cutting permit.
I understand.
You
I
can do
mean,
them in parallel, is what I'm saying. One is a
Okay.
separate permit. Get
your
that in so
permit
you
if
can
wanna
get done by
try and
the,
get it in this
you're cutting it
March.
close now, though.
We understand the trees went to 29.
Okay.
So see what they say.
And you can cut trees after the 31st, you just have to go through the steps.
There are, and the steps are, you have to make sure that there are no Indiana or bat habitats that are
Long-eared,
there,
yeah.
or whatever the one is, northern long-eared bat.
northern
That
long-eared.
would be roosting at that point in time. So you'd have to hire somebody to make sure that there's not there. I mean, town has had to do that ourselves for some of the work that we've done. It can be done, you can cut those trees. If it's noted that there are no bats, you should be fine. So go and get your permit. You're not gonna meet the March 31st deadline. So you're gonna have to get somebody to watch bats, or you're gonna wait till October to do the work. Your call. So,
It's,
I'm just being realistic with you.
understood. We'll do the best we can. We face the problem. That's not any of your doing or the town's doing. The DEC's permit imposed that date limit.
No,
So you'll have to-
that's
that's
imposed
not
for
your issue.
that's imposed for everybody. The season is March 31st
Understood.
through October 1st, right? It's October 1st, I think.
31st, yeah.
That's it. It's everywhere throughout this region, wherever those particular bats are doing their habitat.
Understood.
Drives me batty.
Okay, if there's no other comments. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to refer this applicant to the ECB.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice working with the homeowner. The
could I-
homeowners association, that was good work.
You have been very patient. I have one last request as to whether you would consider setting a public hearing before your board, understanding we have to proceed with the other process in parallel.
Didn't we want to see some tree?
Yeah. I think it might be, it's been so long, you're not gonna make the March 31st deadline anyway. I'd like to hear what the ECB says. And Mike, you were saying something about trees?
No, we were talking about adding or changing some trees possibly, right?
Possibly, yeah.
If you're going to look into that, you should know what you're putting in, so people know, you know, if you're stuck with what you're doing, that's fine, but just make sure that you talk about that, because you're going to have to water it.
Okay,
All
sure,
right.
we'll
You
get
know,
I'd
it
just
back
like
to
you
you.
to fine tune the landscape plan, get to the ECB, and then we'll move the public hearing along when we can.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your
Sure.
courtesy and your patience.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Carrillo Marcel, 1849 Route 6 Residential Site Plan. Mike, I believe you had some comments?
I do. The applicant proposes to convert a commercial office into 3 two-bedroom apartments. The property is on municipal sewer and water. This is not a permitted use in the C Commercial Zoning District. The use variance is required from the ZBA. Why does the zoning table not reflect the same number as the plat for frontage? The map shows 85 feet of frontage, and the zoning table shows 75 feet of frontage. Please correct the site plan or make them match. Can you change the wording on your parking calculation? The code requires 2 spaces per dwelling unit. You refer to the parking spaces as units, so it gets very confusing. The map reflects 1 loading space, but the zoning table provides 0. Which is it? The loading space provided blocks the parking space. The variance is required for blocking a parking space. The map only 1 accessible space is needed according to the zoning. You wrote that a minimum of 2 are required. Please correct the zoning table. In addition to the use variance, there are variances required for frontage area, lot width, side yard, and minimum floor area.
Thanks, Mike. And Rich?
So the application involves legalizing an existing multifamily property that supports 4 apartments. The applicant must provide a water and wastewater use report for review. They did provide information or values in the application, but a separate document should be provided. Referral to County Department of Planning, GML 239. It is unclear if any site disturbance for the project is there. If there is, they should provide the area so that we can figure out if there's going to be a SWIP required. Available site distance calculations should be specified on the plans. Any site distances along the right-of-way should be there, or calculations should be provided. Graphical representation of vehicle movements and all turning radii should be graphically provided. Need for the performance bond, associated engineering fee, I need to develop a quantity takeoff. It's gonna be basic stuff if they're not doing a lot of site work, but it would be for striping and for any kind of work that's being done in the parking area. And a stormwater bond, again, if needed, if there's gonna be stormwater work performed there. As for Pat, it's conversion of existing office space into 3 residential apartments. It's located in a C commercial zoning district. Non-age restricted multifamily apartments are prohibited in this district. A use variance is required. Several existing dimensional nonconformities are noted. Clarifies if these are legal pre-existing or variances. A floor plan is required to document the use of space within the building. Will the building support 3 apartments only, or will any office space remain? Per section 15642, 2 off-street parking spaces are required. For each apartment, the 3 apartments therefore would require a provision of 6. The site plan depicts 7 off-street parking. Site plan must be revised to include dimensions of the parking spaces and the required travel aisles in accordance with section 156.8. If dimensional compliance is not met, a variance may be required. The applicant must conform with that the parking area meets town specs and includes proper drainage facilities. Or 1 off-street loading space is required. Mike mentioned that, so that needs to be addressed. The applicant must document that any new residential units have adequate water supply and sewage disposal capacity. Again, that's my water and wastewater report. Will the new apartments comply with the applicable building and fire code? Note on the plan says remove asphalt paving on neighboring property. Clarify what this involves and how this would be accomplished, and how will it affect the neighboring property. Are there any physical improvements to the facade or appearance of the building being proposed? Will the conversion to a residential unit result in the installation of new HVAC equipment, emergency generators, and other equipment that would be sited on the property, requiring location on the site plan? Document if any usable open space is provided to the tenants in the residential units. While not required in an R district, a standard of 300 square feet per dwelling unit is usually provided. In accordance with section for seeker, no further seeker environmental review is required. Pat was long-winded more than I was.
Thank you. Thank you. You can get the comments from Rose also. Before I ask the board if they have any comments, would you give us a little overview of this property? As far as, was it commercial, was it residential, then it went commercial, now you want to go residential? Give us a little background on this property.
Was existing residential before?
I'm sorry?
Was existing residential before, they did a commercial, and then now I'm trying to convert to a residential again. The parking space is, the lot's so big that you can put 10 cars in there without no problem.
You still need to clarify
Yeah,
how many parking spaces there are, provide them the line,
okay.
and show that.
Yeah, and we're not doing any changes in structural in the house. We just put in the kitchen and fixing the bathrooms. That's the only thing we're doing there.
So you're gonna make some, renovations interior.
The interior, yes.
So will each floor be a separate apartment?
Yes, yes.
Because when you look at it, there's an entrance off of the driveway, which
Yeah.
appears to be like a
It used to be a
store or
hair
something.
salon. in the
So
before.
that will be one apartment,
Yeah.
first floor, and then the top floor?
Yes,
All 2-bedroom apartments? 3
Yes.
2-bedroom apartments?
yes.
No commercial, Pat's,
No,
question?
no.
No, okay. Questions?
What's it currently being used as?
I was, the last owner was, had offices on it. When I bought it, I tried to rent it at the offices, nobody wants to rent that. So now it's the need to do apartments, so that's the reason I do that.
We've seen this come before us in the past with converting. I will tell you, my biggest issue with this is, for lack of better words, the property's a mess.
That's what I'm trying to fix
And
everything.
this needs to leave us with a nice landscaping plan, 0 curb appeal the way it stands today.
That's what I'm trying to do.
You go around back, the dumpster's overflowing, it needs, especially if you're gonna have people living there, you should offer better product. You should offer,
Yes.
it should look nice. I wanna be able to drive by there
Yeah.
and say, wow, it's a nice piece of property. I don't say that now.
So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna plant trees in the front. We're gonna make it look nice. On the back, we're gonna do a swing set for the kids. I wanna take the wood that is rotted, do a new one, because it's been there, she didn't touch anything. And then to the house, I'm gonna do a stone patio working.
Do you have renderings or examples of what you're gonna do? I like to know, like the stone patio, the landscape plan. Personally, this board also plays the architectural review board's role.
Yeah,
So, and this is right on Route 6.
yes.
So I think this board ought to see what this building's gonna look like, what kind of, Anthony, you know better than I, but what kind of siding, what kind of lighting.
Well, the lighting is existing in the commercial. The siding is plastic siding. I had to repair some of the plastic, but she didn't take care of
I
the
think we
building.
need renderings or drawings or something, right?
Well, at least with elevations or something, yeah.
And obviously floor plans, which, Pat had made clear, and I think you did. The floor plan, we need floor plans.
Yes.
Oh, you
Right,
did?
but
Oh,
we don't
I'm
have a
sorry.
site plan, so what they're talking about now, we're adding, patios and curbing and.
Oh, yeah.
Landscape.
None of that's been shown on the drawing.
Okay.
That impacts the site, that impacts performance bonds, that impacts, if you're touching that, you might have to go to DOT if you're putting curbs in there. You might have a DOT permit that's needed. There's a lot that needs to be looked at with that, if there are site plans being, site amendments being done. A landscaping plan should be provided.
Yep.
So,
It's just too important of a property. Look, I think we can, I don't want to overuse the phrase, have a win-win here. I think you can get what you're looking for. We can get a building that brought up to code compliance, but you're on Route 6, you stand out right there. It's
Yes.
like the only residence on that side of the street right there. It should look nice. And this board needs to look at a rendering of what the house will look like, what
Yeah.
kind of materials you're gonna use, site elevations. I'd like to see what the patio's going in.
Yeah.
And that's all gonna benefit you in the long run. I know it's gonna be a
basically
little bit of work up front now, but it will benefit you in the long run.
The patio, what we're doing is because when rains goes water to the basement, that's the reason I'm trying to do a stone patio in there, so to prevent going water inside. Pour the piping, everything, then put the stone on the top.
Right, but all that needs to be provided on a site plan, reviewed and
Okay.
approved. Where is that drainage going to? Is it going to a wetland? Is it going to an existing drainage pipe? That needs to be provided, right? So some of the stuff, that needs to be on a plan and approved by the planning board, reviewed by the consultants, and then approved by the planning board.
Okay.
So, yeah, all great things, all things that are gonna make the property better, needs to be provided on the drawing so we can review it and approve it.
We're happy to hear that you're doing this, but we need to see it and approve it.
Yeah.
Other thoughts from the board? Joe, you have any other thoughts? Mike?
No, I pretty much covered it tonight. No, there's a few corrections that are needed. I'll meet with Tom or come see me and we'll straighten them out. See if the map is right or the zoning table and we'll get that corrected.
Sound reasonable?
Get the consultant's comments from Rose. Right, I think you have to do some updating based on those comments. Provide the site plan that would, before you come back. And, we'll keep moving forward.
All right.
All right?
Okay.
That'd be good. It's a good project.
I'm trying to do the best. I did
Yeah.
one house before in Glen Natal, so that's the reason.
Okay, we'll see you in a couple of weeks or whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, 20 Day Road LLC for a bond return. Mike, I don't believe you had any comments?
My comment is there are no zoning comments on this property. It's all been constructed. So he's good with me. No zoning violations, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And Rich?
Applicant's on for a request for a bond return, or to be released. The original bond amount for the project was $73,000. It has not been reduced in the past. I performed numerous site visits on this, the most recent being March 1st, 2024, to evaluate the status of construction. Based on the inspection, the site features have been installed as approved by the board and are completed, and the bond can be returned. That is where we're at. Pat had no additional memo on this.
Any comments from the board? Otherwise,
Schedule.
If there's no other comments, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the applicant.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sorry we had you last on the agenda there. Yeah, if I would have realized that you were here ready to go, we could have moved you up. But you were entertained. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, written, no meeting. Yep. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.